Hi guys, I'm hoping your computer must be set up for learning SQL. You have already created all these sample databases in PostgreSQL. So without any delay, let's learn the fundamental statements of the SQL. A typical SQL query looks like this. It's quite intuitive to understand. Here, the select statement defines what column needs to be selected. Using from, we explain from which table these columns are extracted. Where statement helps to put any condition on any column to extract the data. Group by is used when we are aggregating the data. Order by sorts the output, and limit is used to extract a limited number of rows. Don't worry, we are going to talk about each one in detail. Today we are going to explore the select statement. Select statement is the most used statement in the SQL. Almost all SQL queries start from select statement. Along with the other statements, it helps in extracting information from databases. The most basic SQL query looks like this. Using select, we define column names that need to be pulled from the database. We also need to mention the table name from which we are pulling the data. For that, we use the from statement followed by a table name. So it's easy to use and understand select column names from table name. Let me show you different ways of using select statements through some examples. Here we are trying to pull column names from these tables. As I said, almost every SQL query starts with select, followed by column names and table names. In the first statement, I am pulling one column of the movie table. However, the SQL is not restricted to pull just one column. I can pull multiple columns from the same table. All I need to do is separate them from commas. Columns need not be in sequential order. I can pull any column in any order. Here I am pulling the capital column first, then continents, and while doing that, I also skipped the middle column. But let's say I want to pull all columns from a large table. We cannot keep writing all the column names after the select statement. Fortunately, we have a more straightforward way to pull all the columns. All we need to do is put an asterisk after select. It pulls all the columns from the table. So summarizing, the select statement helps in extracting columns from tables. If we are writing individual column names, then these should be separated by commas. We also need to define from which table we are extracting the columns. Hence, mention the table name after the from statement. You must have noticed that I have written SQL statements in capital letters. Well, SQL is not case sensitive. I'm writing them in caps to help you understand better. However, people keep writing SQL statements in capital letters to make the code more readable. Now let's move to our pgadmin and explore the Northwind database. I will right-click on the Northwind and select the Query tool. This opens a workspace for me to write SQL queries and communicate with the Northwind database. But before writing, we don't know all the tables of the database. To get the list of all the tables, all I need to do is click on the Northwind database. Here, click on Schema drop-down. If I go down, I can see another drop-down called Tables. There are 14 tables in the database. And to get the list of all of them, I can click here. If I click any of the tables, I can even explore the column names of the table. Now let's try to write some basic queries on the customers table. First, I'm going to pull all the columns at once. For that, I'm going to write select star from customers. To run this query, I can either click on the execute button or press the F5 button. As soon as I press the F5 button, a notification comes at the bottom of the screen showing the time taken to run the query and the number of rows it has returned as a result. I get the result in the Data Output tab here. I can see various columns in the table, such as company name, contact name, city, and postal code. But if I don't want all the columns to be visible here, I can specifically write the column names I need. For example, if I want to extract the city and country, I can replace the asterisk with the column name. I usually write one column in one line and start the column name little ahead of select starting point. These empty spaces before the block of codes are called indentation. It keeps the workspace neat and clean. I usually put space of one tab for indentation. Following these practices makes your code more readable. And here I enter the F5 button. It didn't run. I got an error message. Well, once you start writing queries, you will get many errors. Don't be afraid. Every programming language gives error messages to suggest the users wherever they go wrong. For example, it is saying that there is a syntax error at or near from statement. The issue here is we cannot put a comma just before the from statement. Commas are used to separate the columns, but don't end the last column with a comma. I will remove this comma and run the code. And here we go. We got our results. If I reverse the order of the columns, this query still works fine. SQL queries are not case sensitive. So if I rewrite the select and from statement in small letters, it works fine. Now it's your turn to explore select statements. Extract all values from these tables. Make sure you write neat and clean code. I will see you in the next video.